Hello, in this video we'll take a look at Unit 4, Activity 3. And in this activity you will begin the biggest assignment of our semester. You will write what we're going to call a series of paragraphs. And so let's take a look. To start with, in the Minds On section, we're going to be introduced to the topic that your assignment in this activity is going to be based on. And that topic is coding. And coding is the language that computers use. And in education right now, there's a big debate about how much coding should be taught in schools. Like, should coding be taught to kindergarten students? And should all students in all schools be learning computer language? The argument would be that in the future, computers are becoming more and more important and more a part of our lives. So the more students know about computers and know about coding, maybe the better they will be. Maybe it'll be better for their careers and better for their lives in general. But then there's other people that will argue that coding is not the most important thing and that students should still be focused on things like math and reading and writing. So it's a bit of a debate about how much coding should be taught in schools. And you're going to be asked your opinion about that later on in this activity. You're going to be writing a series of paragraphs. You're going to be writing 5 paragraphs on this one topic. So you're going to want to pay attention as we continue on in this activity when we read articles based on coding. With that said, when we do look at articles based on coding, you're going to want to do what we've always done. You want to see if you can identify the main idea and the supporting details that the author is providing, and then try to develop your own opinion on the article. Do you agree with the author's main idea? Do you agree or think that they've fully supported themselves with supporting details? It'll be important for you to kind of judge the articles we're reading in order for you to develop your own opinion and write your own assignment on the topic. So with that said, if we continue down here, you'll see our first article on coding, and it's called Teaching Children to Code Overview. And in this article, if we go to the top of it, it's just going to kind of introduce the idea of coding in education. And it's going to talk a little bit about England and how England has incorporated coding into all classes from kindergarten all the way to grade 12. And then it'll talk a little bit about Canada, of course, and about whether coding should be adopted in classrooms throughout Canada and at all grade levels. This article is not going to introduce a really strong opinion. It's more of an overview on the topic. Okay, but nonetheless, when you read through it, you should be able to identify the main idea and the supporting details. If we continue on, now that we've introduced the topic of coding, let's talk about the format of your assignment that you're going to have to write. And it's called a series of paragraphs. So in the last activity, you wrote an opinion paragraph on cell phones. Well, in this activity, you're going to have to expand, going beyond one paragraph, and write your opinion on coding and education in a series of 5 paragraphs. So you're going to have to write in what we call a 5-paragraph structure. And those 5 paragraphs are going to include an introduction paragraph, which introduces your opinion on the topic and identifies 3 supporting reasons. You're going to have a body paragraph number 1, which explains your first reason. So you take your first reason from your introduction, you restate it, and you back it up with supporting evidence. You have a body paragraph number 2, which takes the second reason from your introduction here, and then explains and supports it. And then you have body paragraph number 3, taking, of course, the third reason from your introduction and explaining and supporting it. And then you have a conclusion paragraph, which summarizes your overall opinion. So you can think of this 5-paragraph structure kind of like an extended opinion paragraph. Like in your opinion paragraph in the last activity, you should have had a topic sentence, which stated your opinion on the topic. Then you had body sentences, which explained and supported 3 supporting points. And then you had a concluding sentence, which summarized your opinion. So now what you're doing is you're essentially taking that opinion paragraph structure and you're elongating it or extending it so that you can include more explanation and more evidence. And instead of writing that one paragraph, you're turning it into 5. So that's the goal. And so what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to review the series of paragraphs expressing an opinion sample. And that sample is right here. And this sample is on a pretty simplistic topic. These paragraphs are going to argue that cats make excellent house pets. And the paragraphs are going to provide 3 main reasons why. Now, if I read through this introduction, I should be able to find the author's opinion and 3 supporting points. And sure enough, in the final sentence, I can see, despite what dog lovers may believe, cats make excellent house pets. So that's the overall opinion right there. As they are good companions, that's the first supporting point. Civilized members of the household, that's the second supporting point. And easy to care for, that's the third supporting point. So now what the author is going to do is take each of those 3 points and explain and support them in the following 3 paragraphs. So the first point, good companions. What we see here, first, people enjoy the companionship of cats. The second point, civilized members of the household. Well, if I go down to the second body paragraph, we have cats are civilized members of the household. And the third point, easy to care for. If I go down to the third body paragraph, I have lastly, one of the most attractive features of cats as house pets is their ease of care. So you're taking your 3 points and then you're explaining them in whole paragraphs. So you're going to write a whole paragraph on each one of your points. You'll notice inside each paragraph what you're trying to do is you're trying to explain your point and you're trying to provide supporting details. So you're using the methods of proof, whether they be facts, quotations, comparisons. You can look back at the methods of proof from earlier in this unit and use any of them to support your points. For example, here I'll show you that they use research, and so you can see in this second body paragraph we have a quotation here. Cats tend to meow when they're hungry, and so you have a whole quotation here, a sentence, and then you have the source. So this was taken directly from research, directly from an article, and these are the author's names. So you're going to have to do something similar. One of the methods of proof that you're going to have to use in your series of paragraphs is at least one quotation and a citation afterwards. But you'll notice other methods of proof that are being used. It's not just going to be research. It's going to be facts, comparisons. There's many different ways that you can support your points. You'll notice down here actually that there is a paraphrase from the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty of Animals. We have a paraphrase and then the title of the article where it came from. So this lets me know that there is no author for the article. So the writer used the title. And what we can see too is those references down here at the bottom for the 2 sources. So I can see cutting pet care costs right here, cutting pet care costs, and then I've got the full source for where I can find that article, and then I have the author's last names here, Lundgren and Siegel, and then I can see the reference Lundgren and Siegel here, and I can find the actual article online here because I've got all the information. Remember, once you've done your 3 body paragraphs and supported yourself, you still need to include a conclusion where you summarize your overall opinion. So it has, in conclusion, cats are the ideal house pets. So you're going right back to the original argument that they're excellent house pets. Just hopefully maybe restating it using slightly different words. Right? But that's the 5-paragraph structure, and that's what I'm going to ask you to do in your assignment. So if we continue on, you'll see a little bit here on the writing process, and it's going to go over the process of writing from pre-writing to drafting to revising to polishing. These are terms that we've used earlier in this semester. You've done drafting and polishing in all of the units this semester, but this is just a reminder that you don't just want to sit down and write your your final draft of your series of paragraphs. You're going to have to do it in an orderly fashion, and you're going to have to complete steps to complete this assignment. With that said, let's kind of take a look at some of those steps. And we've got our assignment in the consolidation section. So we have series of paragraphs expressing an opinion, first draft. And so this is our biggest assignment of the semester. Instead of writing one paragraph, you're writing 5. Right? So it's important that you have thoroughly read through the material in this activity and that you carefully follow the steps below. Make sure you don't skip any of these steps. If you do, the assignment's probably not going to come out right. So you're going to based on the article you read in this activity, and the article you read was called Teaching Children to Code Overview. And you can again go back and take a look. It's right here. So based on that article, you will use the writing process to write a series of paragraphs expressing an opinion on the topic of the article. And so step 1, it says read these 2 additional articles. So one's called Point and one's called Counterpoint. And if I opened them up, the Point article is right here. Notice that the reference is already provided here. So if you were to use a line from here as a quotation in your series of paragraphs, you'd already have the reference that you could put at the end right here. But this article, Point, it says learning to code is an invaluable tool for a future based in technology. So this article is going to argue that children should learn to code, that it's extremely important. Meanwhile, we've got a second article called Counterpoint, and again, notice that the reference is provided at the end. But this article says reading, writing, and arithmetic remain the most critical tools for future success. And in this article, they're going to argue that coding is not as important as some of the other basic subjects, and that not all students in all schools should be learning computer language, should be learning how to code. And so you've got 2 counter arguments in these two articles. And so once you've read those 2 counter arguments, you have a decision to make. Based on those 2 articles and the other article, the overview article, you have to decide which side of the argument you agree with and why. So again, first look at both sides. Consider the following question. What are the strengths and weaknesses of the perspectives presented in each article? So you might want to use a T-chart. So if I open up the T-chart, it'll look like this. And you've got your coding is an essential skill and should be taught article. And you've got your coding is not as important as other subjects article. And so you can kind of just jot down the reasoning and the evidence that each article uses. And if you want, you can kind of start including your own points and thoughts in this as well too. Essentially, you're arguing both sides in this T-chart, right? So coding should be taught in schools. Coding should not be an essential or mandatory subject in schools. Secondly, once you've kind of looked at both sides, you have to decide which opinion on the issue you agree with. So is coding an essential skill and should it be taught to all students? And then ultimately, your answer to that question is your opinion for the assignment. And then you need to establish 3 strong reasons that support your opinion and make sure that you're using different methods of proof. One of those methods of proof should be a quotation because you've got 3 articles here that you can take quotations from. What you can do is you can use this organizer to help you organize your paragraphs. So if we look right here, we've got our organizer, so you can fill in what sort of a point form note on what your introduction is going to say, your body paragraph 1, body paragraph 2 and 3, and your conclusion. So you can use this as an outline for each of your 5 paragraphs. But this is not what you're submitting to me. This is just an outline. Okay? And then what you're going to do is you're going to make sure when you write your first draft that you've included all of the mandatory parts, that you've got an introduction, body paragraphs, that you've used methods of proof, that you've included a quotation or paraphrase, that you've put a citation after your quotation or paraphrase, that you've got a conclusion paragraph and a full reference. So you're going to make sure that you've done all of these things in your series of paragraphs. And that series of paragraphs, again, should look like this sample right here. And once you've done that, you're going to submit your first draft to me. and I'll provide feedback.